So today, we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating financial strategy. It's called the Church Endowment Trust, and it's a model that's trying to completely rethink how organizations, like churches, think about their long-term funding. It does this by connecting charitable giving directly to personal retirement planning. And that brings us to the big question at the heart of this whole thing. I mean, is it really possible to set up a system where giving to your church's future also somehow helps build your own retirement fund? It's a pretty bold claim, so let's break down exactly how it's all supposed to work. Okay, so what's the big promise here? Well, it's basically a two-for-one deal. The goal is to create what they call a sustainable financial foundation for the church, while at the same time providing real retirement benefits to its members. And the really interesting part is that it's designed as a zero-sum funding model, which in theory means the church gets all this stability without it costing them anything directly from their budget. So, what are the big selling points? Well, check this out. They claim there's no net cost to the church. The church's endowment is guaranteed to grow, and members get retirement benefits, all while creating a powerful legacy. That is for sure a very ambitious list. All right, so that all sounds pretty great, right? But how does it actually work? How is all this supposed to happen? Let's pop the hood and really deconstruct the machine that drives this whole model. The key piece of this whole puzzle is a legal tool called an irrevocable life insurance trust, or ILIT for short. Think of it as a special container built specifically to own life insurance policies. And in this setup, the church is basically in the driver's seat. It acts as the trustee, the manager of the trust, and it's also the primary beneficiary. Okay, let's follow the money trail. Where does it all start? It actually begins with the parishioner. For the first 7 years, they're the ones paying the premiums on a specific kind of life insurance policy, one that's designed to build up a high cash value. This is what's called the vesting period, and it's absolutely crucial for building the financial foundation that the rest of the strategy relies on. And this is where things get really interesting, the handoff. After those first 7 years, the parishioner stops paying. That's it for them. Then, the church steps in and takes over the premium payments. But they don't just pay the minimum, they overfund the policy. That just means they're putting in more cash than required, which is the key to making that policy's cash value grow, and grow fast. So you're probably wondering, what's in it for the parishioner? Well, this is the payoff. Around year 15 or so, they can start getting a retirement income stream from the policy. But here's the thing, it's not normal income. It's paid out as a series of tax-free loans against the cash value that's been building up inside the policy. They're often called wash loans, and because it's a loan, not a withdrawal, it's not considered taxable income. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the legacy. When the parishioner eventually passes away, the life insurance policy pays out its death benefit, and the plan calls for a straight 50-50 split. Half of that money goes to the parishioner's family, through their own trust, and the other half goes directly into the church's endowment fund. Okay, so that's the theory, but what does this look like in the real world, with actual numbers? Let's walk through a case study from the source material to see this strategy in action. All right, so let's imagine a guy, right? He's 37 years old, and he's making about 60 grand a year. He's going to be our test case for this whole financial projection. So for this guy, during that initial 7-year funding period we talked about, he's putting $12,000 a year into his life insurance policy. So let's do the math. Over 7 years, that comes out to a total of $84,000. And this is the key. That is his total out-of-pocket contribution for the entire life of the plan. After that, he's done paying, not another dime. And now for the really wild part, the projected return. According to this projection, starting when he's 61 years old, he could start receiving an annual tax-free income of $186,000. Yeah, you heard that right. The source material really emphasizes this point. He could make way more in retirement than he did when he was working. Now, obviously, and this is a big obviously, this all depends on the policy's underlying investments performing as expected over, decades. Okay, let's step back for a second and just look at the big picture. This whole thing is designed to be a win-win, right? So let's quickly summarize the benefits that are supposed to flow to both the person and the church. So on one side, you've got the parishioner. For them, the pitch is all about financial security and retirement, creating a lasting legacy, and getting expert help with estate planning. Then, on the other side, for the church, the promises are just as big, a guaranteed growing endowment that doesn't rely on constant fundraising, stronger relationships with its members, and a powerful new way to fund its mission. But the thinking here isn't just about one person or one policy. The real goal is way bigger. It's about creating a system that can sustain itself and grow for generations to come. And here it is. They call it a perpetual giving system. The idea is that it becomes a self-fueling engine. When a death benefit gets paid to the church, a chunk of that money is used to pay the premiums for other people's policies in the trust. It's meant to create this incredible multiplying effect that makes the endowment not just self-sustaining, but always growing. Okay, so how would a church actually get this up and running? The source material boils it down to 3 main steps. Step 1 is the legal stuff, setting up that irrevocable life insurance trust. Step 2 is designing and buying the right kind of insurance policies for the members who participate. And finally, step 3 is the ongoing management, making sure the church keeps funding the policies and has a system to handle the retirement payouts down the road. Beyond all the numbers and the financial mechanics, there's a really powerful idea at the core of this. And this quote from the material really sums it up. It transforms the end of life into a beginning of blessing. The whole strategy is framed not just as a smart financial move, but as a way to create a legacy that's deeply meaningful for everyone involved. So there you have it. That's the blueprint for the Church Endowment Trust. It's definitely a complex idea. And look, its success really hangs on those long-term projections panning out and very careful management. But it leaves you with a really big question. Is this kind of creative, symbiotic financial structure the future of how we think about giving?